All right, here we go. April 1st, 2022, beginning of Q2. This week, a couple exciting things. As usual, the Now page, as far as I know, the first experiment with Launch Darkly has gone out to 5% of new accounts. So that experiment is up and running. Don't have results personally just yet, but it's exciting. The Now page and logging and tagging have all taken leaps I think we can all appreciate over the past few weeks. And yeah, really exciting to have this in the hands of our members. We're experimenting with new podcast talking points, particularly Taylor. He was on Inspired Evolution, and the talking points are going to be around resilience, which is a concept that is coming together within the larger research strategy. So the ultimate goal of optimizing health is to develop resilience to age, resilience to stress, resilience to the food and surroundings and environment that we are subject to. So experimenting with this, we're going to learn a lot from those talking points, how they resonate, continue to iterate there, but exciting to have Taylor out on the circuit and testing these new messages. The Meet the Team page is live on the website. You can see kind of a snippet of what that looks like right here. It links out to a Notion page with some of our team's thoughts around being part of Levels, and really exciting to see more of a broader slice of who we are on the website. And then Paul has this past week dove into the traffic analytics for partners, and he uncovered a potential traffic leakage issue where we use the levels.link syntax for our URLs, levels.link/partner. And oftentimes that is translated into levelshealth.com/partner, which doesn't actually link through. So I believe that's the sort of source of the issue as far as I can tell, but exciting that we're finally diving into and creating metrics around and tracking all of our sponsors, our partners, and the other conversion sources that we've got. Starting to put more numbers to this, more analytics to it, which means we're on our way to optimizing it. 10x content initiatives this week. Lots of movement on new video approaches. A couple different examples here. Not Your Doctor, which I believe is Rob. Blog TLDRs with Haney. Member Stories. Eat or Pass with Casey and others. So we're testing a whole bunch of new video formats, which is really exciting. Video, as Ben has mentioned, is going to be a huge source of focus for us in the next few months as we kind of move from SEO and search to the second biggest search engine over on YouTube. We're putting together plans to engage members in the community more around the membership model, continuing to learn how it's resonating, how they're approaching interfacing with Levels in the long term and thinking about it, and also through the Wearable Challenge. So for those who are newer and haven't spent a lot of time getting familiar with Wearable Challenge, it's this sort of emergent, almost platform-like organization that popped up using Levels to help people lose weight simply by staying within a certain blood sugar range. And there's a financial incentive, there's a community component to it with a lot of back and forth chat. They've tried several platforms, they have an app, but it's all kind of leveraging Levels and closed loop feedback on blood sugar. So it's a really nice organic representation of community emerging, and we want to learn as much as we can from them. Daily onboarding emails experiment. I think Braden has an update on this, but it led to significant impact on logs, program completeness, and subscriptions this past few weeks, which is really cool. So essentially, it was an email campaign to help people basically surface information about why one should log and where the value comes from that sort of effort. And it's going to be exciting to continue to try these sorts of things to help people loop back in. Some people get started and they forget, or they just don't understand the two apps that we're with right now. So looking forward to more on that, Braden, in just a little bit. Making progress on biological observability. So this is kind of the research framework that Taylor is front running right now. Azure and Matt Lay have both been helping extensively on mapping the additional metrics that, we've called this a number of things: biological observability, deconvolution, but ultimately the metrics besides glucose that interact with and more so than interact with, are influenced by our choices and drive our health. So we're making good progress there. And then Azure has put together a future experimentation framework that kind of covers the full spectrum, or is beginning to map the full spectrum of experiments we could put into the app, or use in our community to develop a research data set that could really help us deconvolute even further. And then good progress on the membership side with determining liftoff pricing, scrubbing costs, have some nice paths towards future savings. Progress on checkout flow design, updated taxonomy for member interest. So a lot of stuff, sort of dotting the I's, crossing the T's as we approach our liftoff, which is tentatively within a month or about a month out. Other stuff, recorded a couple whole new level episodes. We had some coverage this week in Fit Insider, picking up on the membership model change. We hit over 12 million in all-time revenue, which I think the last time we reported this was maybe 9 million. So acceleration there. I don't know how much time has passed between those two numbers, but again, we're not in growth mode, but it is fun to track. We got our Series A patches going out. This is ready to ship. You can see the visuals there. It's exciting. We got a sticker and the embroidered patch there. We had a What Have You Given Up series, sort of just trying to dive into, as a Levels team, what have we learned that kind of changed our behavior altogether? And that kind of links to this little testimonial we got, which this individual was just essentially saying that by seeing the closed feedback loop, his relationship with food effortlessly changed essentially overnight. And he's doing things like eating half the dessert. His desire to eat sugar has dropped, which I think is really an important message. When I answered this prompt, I said that I don't eat candy anymore. And it's actually not that my motivation has gone up, it's that my desire has gone way down. And that was something that I only realized when I read this message that Sam forwarded me. Casey was on Dr. Hyman, IG Live, tons of feedback, 200 plus comments, 11,000 likes, just a ton of resonance there. Fantasia McGuffey, who's Austin McGuffey's wife, launched a video for us, or not for us, about us. And then I just wanted to highlight this progress that we've got on the Now page. Ms. posted about this, but really awesome to see the direct insights based on logs, a click away. I think we can continue to surface these in more accessible surfaces within the app, but it's really cool to start to see these visuals about what could be driving a response and to be able to click right through, see your past logs and comparisons among them. I think that's the majority of the stuff here. All right, jumping ahead, I want to welcome Stephanie George. So Stephanie's a Levels member, strategic business consultant and advisor. She has been
That's an old picture, I gotta say.
Well, Stephanie, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to join us on the Friday Forum this week. We always love these opportunities to talk directly to our members, and would love to just hear a few words, about your experience, about your perspective on health. I think you have, as an early member and one of our supporters, we just appreciate anything you can share with us.
Thank you. So I originally found Levels as I was going through intermittent fasting, and it made a huge difference in how I approached the intermittent fasting, and seeing things like my blood glucose level go down below 60 was, it's like, oh, what do I do with that? So it was pretty interesting to get that insight, to see that corn products don't spike my glucose the way other breads do, other grains do. Just getting an insight onto various foods that I can eat without spiking my glucose. Margaritas, by the way, are terrible for glucose. I learned that too. And then looking at, so my professional background has been with startup companies and looking at the wearable space. I really think that there's a lot of opportunity in the wearable space, and getting us to be much more in control of our of everything that goes on about my body. And I'm changing. So I'm 58, and I don't process food the way I used to. I've completely eliminated alcohol except on special occasions. It's not from a teetotaler perspective. It's definitely from a this doesn't make me feel good perspective. And getting the real quantitative data about why it doesn't make me feel good has been very insightful. So, so looking at wearables and seeing the influence on my behavior has been a total aha moment for me. I'd never worn a CGM before, and so that was really terrific. I still do a lot of finger sticks. I'm not diabetic. I've never been diagnosed as diabetic. I'm not anywhere in that range, but I still know that the way my body processes carbohydrates and sugars makes a big difference. So that's why I was attracted to the Levels Health, and why I think that there's a great opportunity in having everybody evaluate themselves that way. And I'm very excited to see that you've changed your membership model to a membership. I saw that in Medium, by the way, if you're tracking where people see your information. So that's kind of my story. Without any feedback, I don't know what else you want to know.
Those that background and context is just super helpful. And a couple things, that I want to just highlight are touching on how this changes with time and with context. That's one of the lost realities, I think, on society, is that we try and average
postmenopausal
everything.
woman, which is not something that you'll ever experience.
Exactly. Yeah. We are all unique individuals, and we can take all of these different, physiologies and average them out, but that doesn't actually give you any useful information about what should I eat for lunch. You and I respond very differently to corn. So it's funny to hear that, but that's just one example. It's a small one, but it also really matters. And all these things stack up. If you're doing something for years and decades, because you think it is healthy or because it worked for someone else, that may lead to an entirely different outcome based on our different physiologies, the hormones that are different among us. And so that, it's just a really a unique, but an important example of why breaking it down to the individual is so critical.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I gotta say, as a postmenopausal woman, there's very little data about that, about what we should be eating for our health, for weight loss, for, all of our hormone balancing. There's just nothing there's very little about how to work with a postmenopausal biology.
Well, I think I'm optimistic this will change as we kind of enter this new phase of biological observability, where we are able to generate massive data on the individual as opposed to large data across many individuals. And that will be the future of decision-making, is going to be influenced by really good models about how you operate and how, the direction you want to take. And
you can see I'm not an elite athlete. And I see in the chat that somebody said menopause 1 to 2 pounds a year for the rest of life, but it doesn't have to be that way if we know what works for us.
Couldn't agree more. Stephanie, I just really want to thank you again for taking time on your Friday to hang out with us.
Oh,
we have the meeting's about 90 minutes long. You're more than welcome to join us throughout. We've got, some updates on product stuff, on everything across the business if you're interested. And then we do a little share at the end. But if not, if you have to jump, I just want to appreciate you from the whole team. Thanks for setting aside some time. We really love hearing from our members directly. It is super important to us.
Thank you very much.
Of course. All right. Got a couple more intros here. So I want to welcome Galit to the software engineering team here at Levels. Galit, I'm not going to read your slide. I just would love to hear directly from you what you're excited about. Welcome to the team. Thanks for diving in.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's so crazy being here because I've been watching these for months. So it's really exciting. And I had a great week. So yeah, geographically, I'm in Asheville, North Carolina right now, but I've been doing the digital nomad life for like 6 months. I was in Boston before then, and before that, Israel. I've worked as a software engineer and data scientist, so I'm super excited to be building the Levels product and also dive into the Levels data set and see what else we discover. Yeah, thanks to everyone who's contributed to the onboarding, because it's been super smooth, really organized and impressive. So it's been a great week. So thanks to all of you. I'm really happy to be here and really looking forward to meeting everyone and working with everyone. So yeah, thank you.
Love it. Also love to hear appreciation for an onboarding process. That's something I hope, doesn't stay unique to Levels, but I've never heard that sentence before in my career up until now. So shout out to everyone who's contributing to onboarding, making it fun instead of painful. And if you haven't met Galit, please reach out, make yourselves available. Even though onboarding might be great, it doesn't cover everything. There's a lot of nuance that we don't have super well documented yet. And so, just please help her navigate her way into being fully ramped up. All right. Yeah. Jumping over to Stephen, also joining software engineering. Stephen's in Tennessee. I'm going to leave it there. Stephen, welcome.
Hey, thank you. Thank you. I'm really excited to be joining the engineering team. My interest in metabolic health began last year. I found ketogenic diet to be the most effective treatment for some chronic headaches. And so afterward, I was learning as much as I could about nutrition. I learned about Levels on a podcast. I started finding all the Levels YouTube content and podcasts produced by Levels, and just consumed as much as I could and realized I'd really love to work with Levels and join the mission. So I'm really thrilled to finally be here.
Welcome. I'm curious about the mixtapes here. So if you have recommendations for music, we've got a water cooler chat on Threads. Maybe we need a music chat as well, but always curious to hear about everyone else's, appreciations out there in the music world. And again, if you haven't spoken with Stephen yet, please make yourself available. He'll be onboarding kind of at the same pace as Galit. So any lessons that we can learn and any help we can provide to them will make their onboarding that much easier. Welcome, Stephen. All right. And then I want to welcome Stadi. So Stadi's going to be helping us out with research consulting on the biological observability framework, some of the IRB stuff we have going. And so Stadi's currently in San Francisco. Welcome. Love to hear a few words.
Yeah, excited to be here. I'm currently in SF, born and raised, and was heard Josh on the Acquired podcast and was really, really excited. I currently work with wearables at Stanford, and I was like, whoa, this is the future, and wanted to jump on board. So thanks to Ben and Miz for getting me connected, and excited. It just started the onboarding process yesterday, so a lot of reading to do, a lot of learning, but excited to get started.
Awesome. Yeah, really cool to hear the connection there through the Acquired community. I know Ben and Miz were all over that. So awesome to have that loop closed, and appreciate you reaching out and getting started with us. Tons of exciting stuff to do on the research front. And again, everyone, please, if you have ways to improve the, even with consulting where you're just sort of diving straight in, onboarding, into the Levels ecosystem of asynchronous work and kind of the way we like to approach information exchange it's a little bit tricky. So please, Stadi, document your time with us, and would love to hear how we can improve the experience getting up and running, and appreciate you kind of adapting to some of the idiosyncrasies of the Levels ecosystem.
It's great for me. I like, in my background working with doctors, everything's expected now, and it's very synchronous to the other end of the spectrum. So I really appreciate the culture you guys have created, and it's definitely an awesome change of pace.
Love it. All right. Awesome. Multiple intros this week. Super exciting as the team grows. All right. On that note, jumping into culture and kudos. So first off, I want to highlight Sissy and Paul hanging out together in Montreal. Super cool to see. Really great. Sissy and Paul both started quite recently and have dove just directly in and have been contributing across a whole spectrum of work, but in particular, just really leveraging and amping up our digital strategy, again, with the analytics that I touched on with Paul, and community with Sissy doing community calls, examining how we can leverage the platforming of Wearable Challenge and the membership model. So thanks to both of you. Awesome to see you hanging out. And then a couple other highlights I want to talk about. So first off, Tony with loop closure and documentation practices. So this one was raised. It's a very good example. Tony goes above and beyond. And I want to specifically highlight, Tony will close loops in Notion, which I have to say, as an organization, it's one of the hardest challenges is, we do a lot of documentation in Notion. We have a lot of action items that drive, but oftentimes those loops stay open. So we take a project, we write down strategy in Notion, we develop action items, and then it's very hard to go back and make sure that whatever ended up happening is documented and that loop is closed for anyone reading it in the future. Something we need to improve on, but Tony has been doing a tremendous job of making sure that across all of our platforms, when an action item is surfaced, the loop ends up closed. So Tony, it would be great to see more detail on your process here. Appreciate you pushing the loop closure part of our culture, and we can all learn from that. And then JM shouted out Karen on Threads. I want to do so again. Karen I finally got a chance to really dig deep into the international expansion memo, and Karen's just a tremendous advocate for all of the nuances of expanding our product outside of the US. And it's really amazing to read. It's quite exciting. I think there's just so much potential. And she raises the fact that it is probable that the vast majority of Levels members in the future will be outside the US, which is definitely true. I mean, the population the US is a small fraction of the world population. So if we want to make the impact on metabolic function that we need to make, we have to lean into international expansion and learn these lessons. So anyway, thanks for being just an amazing team player, Karen, working on difficult time zones with our team, and just really delivering a very impressive opportunity to us with the True Pill fulfillment over in the UK, and all the opportunities we've got to kick that off very soon. It's awesome. And then Riley just started this past week, and I just want to surface Chris's shout out. Riley dove in headfirst. I mean, I've had just an amazing time working with him so far. It's been just kind of like action from day one, which is really cool. I mean, he's building his own dashboards, helping us out with compensation adjustments, helping us out with revenue, gap revenue adjustments, just like challenging projects very quickly. So Riley, thanks for just like not holding back and getting this stuff started. It's really great. All right. The main thing, Level shows you how food affects your health. This is the prayer. This is what we're here to do. If you're not working on this or don't feel that your work is contributing to this mission, just raise that, and we'll, no harm done. We'll just make sure that the course is aligned. JM.
Monster week up to 1860 rolling average. If we do that every week for a year, that's like a 19x. So shout out to the engineers for whom this edition makes risk and stress of added work. We appreciate you and help us on the way, but generally this is a good thing. Thank you.
Yes, generally, yes. All right, let me make sure my sound is shared. 1 second. Okay, Niz.
Hey everyone, coming at you with some pointers and reminders on culture and process. So let's get into it. First one, sent out a memo or a link to our memo in Threads yesterday as a reminder that forum is optional. So you can always take this meeting async. You can review the recording, it'll get sent out afterwards. And if you're presenting, feel free to do a loom just like this one. Second thing is around Notion and Threads and just naming of Threads and Notion docs. Search is getting harder and harder as we create more and more information. And so the more work you can do upfront to make things discoverable and really descriptive in titles, the better. Here's a good example of Andrew originally naming this one Growth and Scaling, this memo that he wrote, which was a fun read, renamed it to Growing and Scaling Considerations for Engineering Priorities and Infrastructure, March 2022. So the more memos we can have named very descriptively, the better. And if you go to the memos database and you see that, maybe you have a memo or a doc that has a 2-word title, it's probably too short. We don't want to be verbose, but we do want to be descriptive. So identifying the team, the area, the time where the doc is created will make finding it much more easy later on. We can also notice this in threads, where even if you're posting within a specific project forum, make sure that thread is searchable across forums. Second thing I wanted to point out was this who does what document. This is a combination of everyone's areas of responsibility doc into one cohesive kind of short form doc. Not very descriptive, but helpful hopefully for people getting the lay of the land and understanding where everyone fits in. And then a spin-off of that is this DRI database that the marketing team started with related docs and very clear ownership of each of these tasks and responsibilities. So playing with ideas on how to extend this across the team. And we've got some ideas coming. Sam's working on this and actively thinking about it. And then finally, On threads, if you notice things getting long, if you notice a thread is getting long and you need to pull people in along the way, make sure that you don't just mention them and say thoughts, question mark. We want to avoid that QQ, that quick question, or just the thoughts where the person that you're asking now has to do a lot of work to read through 30 comments and get up to speed. So in those cases, use the start new thread sub-discussion feature liberally. If something's going long and the topic is changing and you need to pull in new people, feel free to do that in a sub-thread and do the work to explain what you'd like their input on instead of putting the work on them. That's it for now. Thanks.
Yeah, quickly on the thoughts thing. And this is similar to why we don't use jargon, why we don't use acronyms. The goal is that context is readily available and you don't have to go, do your research, take notes and go try and do research on your own. It's in rugby, we called this a hospital pass, which is where you develop, you're running down the field with the ball, and then you've got a gigantic defensive end coming at you, and you at the last second hand it off to your teammate for him to get crushed. That's a hospital pass. You don't want to build a bunch of challenging context and then hand it off with a quick thoughts question mark. This is the main problem with email. It's this hot potato thing. Let's try and actually solve problems through messaging. And so anyway, lots of good stuff there. The DRI, the DRI, who does what stuff is, I think, going to be super helpful for everyone getting onboarded into the context, just kind of solve this exact problem. When you're getting started, it's not clear who should I talk to without trying a bunch of different leads. Thanks, Ms. Always replays. Okay, I think no high level product update this week. 3 days since the last App Store release. Shout out to the team for continuing to hit that SLA. And I think we're gonna jump right to projects with Maz.
Hi everyone, a few updates for you this week. First, we sent an email to beta members that had joined Levels before the membership transition and explained to them that they are members and their membership has been extended to the end of 2022. We also took the opportunity to introduce the new services since then, which is the blood panel and the nutritionist. But most importantly, we reframed what really membership is all about and really focused on the things that we think is our magic and our specialty, which ultimately will be the app and the community that we build. And obviously, the product services we offer at cost to align incentives is important, but that is something that we really care about and members should know about, but maybe not something that they think about as the first thing. They really want to know what's in it for them, and really what's in it for them is a great app experience that helps them achieve their goals and a great community that helps them achieve their goals. And obviously they want to make sure that the things that they're getting are high value and they're getting a fair price and that they're not being taken advantage of. And that's the way we've aligned our business incentives. So in this email, we really focused on that and drove that point home. This is a lot of learnings we got from the Medium post, that while some people care about our business model, what really care about is what's in it for them. And so this is trying to address that. We also spent some time running analysis on the interest of our current customers and cleaned up some of the categories so we understand what are the jobs to be done or goals that they're trying to achieve by joining Levels. So by creating an easier taxonomy, we'll understand what people are interested in and why they're joining Levels. And the taxonomy that we landed on was weight management, slowing aging, increasing athletic performance, avoiding disease, and then just learning about diet. This last category is for people that are curious. We'll see how many people will actually opt into that, or people actually primary goal driven, which is, they want to achieve a specific goal. So this data should tell us where most of our customer base and interest is and can hopefully focus us to build for the groups that are getting the most amount of value from Levels today. And we can cut the data both based on all members and subscribing members, assuming that the subscribing members are ones that find value throughout the year versus a one-time transaction where they're trying out CGMs. So we'll run that data and use the learnings in our product development and other places. On the manufacturer front, we've been working with them and we ran the checkout, parts of the checkout flow where the decisions made between two manufacturers with them. And thanks to Alan and Scott, the checkout flow is very simple. And the customer will make decisions on basically two vectors, which is price and whether it's continuous or scan, and also keeps the name of manufacturers out of that flow, which avoids triggering a lot of the reviews and approvals. So big thanks to Scott and Alan. It was not an easy task, but I think they executed really well, and we got the early feedback from the manufacturers. On the other front related to manufacturers, we finalized pricing, and thanks to Riley and a number of other folks, we ran the cost scrub and determined the pricing for both manufacturers that we'll go to liftoff with. And we also have a number of pricing experiments that, working with David and Jeremy, we have in the works that will launch after both IRB studies are available to really pressure test the decision that we made here. That was the bulk of the updates, and have a good weekend.
Thanks, Maz. Good to hear that hearing from Chris that the support tickets were much lower on this email. It's exciting. It means it was well received.
Hi, everyone.
All right. So for now this week, the theme is responding to member feedback. So it was a really jam-packed week. My update's gonna be pretty lengthy, but I wanted to give you an insight into the sort of things that the team has been doing. We have put now out there with a bunch of members, and we're getting feedback now. Huge shout out to Mike for setting up those calls and going through that. We're going to start off with going through a bit of the feedback, what we hope to get out of it, and then I'll walk through what was shipping this week and what's in progress. So next slide, please, Josh. At a high level, we're talking to many members, and what we want to do is distill the themes out of each of those one-on-one sessions, and I'll be providing that in threads, the first one today. But we want to talk to a lot of people and then see what sorts of themes emerge, and that's really the main focus point for this. Some of the themes that we're seeing so far, what's working? Well, the improved comprehension and simple education that we thought the now cards, the full screen now cards would help with. I think that's coming through in the early testing that we've had with members. We've also seen some struggles, particularly with interacting with the navigation. The team acted on that feedback really fast, and we've already rolled out a fix, and we're going to get the next wave of feedback next week on that. There's also some opportunities that we wanted to highlight. And I'm not going to do this every week, but just to start this off, I wanted to give you a flavor for how some of these calls go. So Josh, if you go to the next slide.
Okay, now I'm going to walk through what's in progress and what we've done. So you just heard from that member that she wants to know how her food, like what to do next, like what should I try next. And what you see here, so Murillo did most of this work last week, but there's some remaining backend work to launch the histogram here. So after you get your food log, we're going to tell you what typically has the strongest response. And hopefully this is going to be done once Hal comes back from vacation. So launching next week. Next slide. And then Justin started work on the event-based insights. So this is when you log something like fruit, we'll pair it with an insight that tells you a bit more about it. Like, hey, here's how to think about fructose and what you can do next. Two things that we're really going to be focused on for helping directly what Melanie had talked about in that last video. Next slide. And then this week we launched Steph's Common Questions widget. So this is the getting started little widget that goes through common questions in the early journey. Great job, Steph. Next slide. And this week, Gabriel launched the anomaly detection in Now. So we already had this feature, but now we're bringing it front and center, just like your meal review. And you're going to see it on your Now screen, get a chance to add a log or dismiss it. And as soon as you add that log, you're going to get your score report right away. It's a really nice experience if you haven't tried it out yet. Next slide. Gabriel has also been in progress working on onboarding V2 with in-app video. The key problems we're solving with Now in this phase are the early journey, comprehension, and purpose. We want people to understand what they need to do to get set up successfully with levels, and then orient on what should I be doing, what's the purpose of levels. And a key part of that is frictionlessly getting them through that first CGM setup process. This one, I think Gabriel is getting close to completion here, so I expect more update in a couple of days. Next slide. Steph started work. So after that initial onboarding phase, we don't want to just drop you there. We have to have a clean handoff over every part of the journey. And Steph started working on the next handoff after that setup, which we're calling the guided journey during week 1. Every day, we're going to give you a set of things that orient you on what you should be thinking about at this part of your journey, and also some common questions and education that you may want to read next. These will open up those full screen rich story experiences as well. So Steph is working this now. Next slide. John just started working on the baseline metabolic report. So it's not enough to help people understand the basic orientation on CGM and what to do with levels. They really need a purpose. And what we hear constantly in feedback is that people want to baseline their existing diet before improving. And the baseline report is a guided experience that is going to handhold them from that initial part into giving them architecting a purpose. So we're really gonna ham it up in a very genuine and positive way, saying, this is what you should be doing in week 1. It's all about baselining. And we're gonna make it rewarding by giving you little rewards throughout the week to figure out, to encourage logging. And the baseline report is going to unlock after a week of consistent logging. And it's gonna show you where your biggest opportunity areas are. And this is only gonna be revealed after a week. And it's going hand in hand with the daily reveals for your food scores. So every day you're gonna get food scores and then why it happened and full screen insights. And then at the end of the week, you're gonna get your metabolic report. And this is gonna set the stage for the next 2 phases of the journey, which are exploration and optimization. And this whole scaffolding lays the foundation for guided journeys for things like weight loss program. You can imagine in the future, once we have a clinical program, you can opt into that. And instead of getting your baseline diet report, you can have, maybe that feeds into your clinician's report. There's so much we can do here with this basic scaffolding. So awesome work on this one, John, getting started. Next slide. One of the big things that we hear is that people don't understand what the glucose line means, or how their food relates to their glucose response, or how activities relate. For the last 2 years, we've been struggling to come up with a simple animation that helps people understand the core fundamentals of glucose, how it relates to your health, how food relates to it, and what are the levers that you can pull. Alan has been designing what is really a breakthrough here, and something I think we should explore patenting, which is an interactive glucose learning game. Alan has been working on a prototype for this, where you see the glucose line moving. It's extremely interactive, and you can't actually unlock and see the glucose graph until you put food on it and you see how it reacts, and until you add a wok and see how it goes down, and until you add candy and see how that's higher than salad. All the things that we want to teach, we're going to teach it interactively, and this is going to be a forced experience that people have to go through during their onboarding. Next slide. Also launching this week were a bunch of other updates we did directly based on member feedback. What you see down here, we improved that. We had some other subtle tweaks on the visual swiping to make it more friction-free. There were some rendering bugs that members brought to my attention in feedback that we fixed in the cards. The now images, through internal testing, it showed that they were loading very slowly, which was causing people were abandoning reading the stories. So Justin did prefetch to load those images up before you actually open the story. And there's been some improvements to the dismissal. Next slide. Huge shout out to the engineering team on all these in-flight projects. These are all going to weave together into a seamless journey that is going to help our members understand in week 1 comprehension and give them a sense of purpose. And once we have a foundation of comprehension and purpose, we can then get onto daily looping to get them past the month 1 experience into like the future accountability phases that we haven't designed yet for. And all of this wouldn't be possible, next slide, without all of Mike and Jen and Casey's awesome work on getting these rich stories into the app. This really is a paradigm change for the app, and it's an enormous amount of effort to come up with content and get it ready for use. Mike has done an incredible job operationalizing this and coordinating between the team to get these stories in the app. And it's been a monumental effort to bring this all together. So there's still a lot to go. Next slide, please. If you want to check on that link I shared last week, levels.link/now-phasing, you can see an in-depth spec where we have all the problems we're solving and then all the things that we're launching for solutions here. You can see that almost all of the first phases are heavily in development. All the things I talked about with the Eng team, there's a lot of work in flight as referenced here by these little construction icons. I'll be flipping these to rockets when we launch, and then closing the loop with member feedback. As we get feedback on each of these things, we're gonna close the loop here with what we learned, and then also close the loop with the members on every time we make a change based on their feedback. So that is it for now.
What an awesome update. Yeah, this is blowing my mind. Thanks so much, David, and whole team for getting not just like this framework in place and executing on it, but also that member touch point, the important like live user research interactions that we haven't been able to do much of lately. Just a huge turning point for understanding the implications of what we're launching. So really awesome. Looking forward to more of this. Thanks. Andrew.
Hey everyone, hope you've had a great week. Quick check-in on engineering progress. We've had a very productive week in terms of pull requests and output. Things are getting reviewed on time and stuff's getting merged really quickly, which is awesome. The recruiting pipeline continues to be healthy, and we have a couple announcements coming soon that we're super excited about. To call out some things. So one is actually from a non-engineer. So Josh Moore made a pull request for a data warehouse storage. And this is awesome. This represents a lot of hard work that Jinlu, Helena, and others have done to make it really easy to expose business insights. And so this was Josh doing this for conversion checkout data and got it in. This is really exciting. The other one I wanted to call out that reflects on the iceberg metaphor I used last week is Jeremy's work with the e-commerce. We're doing a rewrite of how orders are handled, and there's a lot of groundwork that needs to be done. And so he's getting this through. There's a lot of feedback been happening, but this kind of shows how complicated some things can be behind the scenes before there's any UI or anything like that. Well, awesome. Well, I'm excited to hang out with everyone later. I hope everyone has a good weekend.
Exciting stuff. Good work, JM. Thanks, Andrew and the Eng team.
Hey.
There we go. All right, over to Alan.
Hey everybody, here's what's up in design this week. So I'm just going to pick 3 themes of the many that we're working on right now. Lauren and I started working on looking at a little bit more at blood work and how we can potentially build off the V1. We're starting to look at guidance too. So what does it mean to be on a levels program or plan? And then finally sort of making it fun. We need to do this a bit more. And so we're looking at opportunities for that, and Brett's doing an amazing job on bringing sort of the delight into the experience. So I'll start with blood work. So we've got this initial results going in to the experience as very much a V1. We want to do a better job of helping people understand what these things mean and helping them sort of turn that towards actionability in their life. And so one ways we think we could potentially do that is surfacing a video. And in some ways, we're just trying to recreate the Dr. Lustig experience, which I know some of us have had. For me, it was sort of a profound doctor moment. It was just a phone call. Dr. Lustig, thank you. So you walk through some of these things for me, and I found it to be one of the more enlightening sort of blood work experiences. Well, the only one. So can we recreate that? And so what you're seeing on the right here is in sort of just in concept phase right now, but imagine you receive a guided walkthrough of your results, and we would be trying to point out, because some of these measurements are related, like cholesterol and triglycerides. We want to help users understand what to keep an eye out for, and then potentially, after that sort of video release, could we almost mishmash videos based on what your results were and talk about yours specifically, or what to think about. So I think this is a really exciting one. I'm really thrilled to start seeing more of this develop. So plan to hear more of that in the future as Laura and I get going and learn a little bit more about the regulatory constraints. And so that actually connects nicely with beginning a program, because I think any program that's aligned to the levels point of view is probably going to start with some kind of strong data point about you. And the test result, your blood work results, is actually a great place to start. It could also be potentially something like our metabolic report, which we're beginning to work on. And so in this, you can kind of see 2 tracks. At the top, sort of what a user is indicating to us or doing, and the bottom, what we're doing for them. And so you can imagine receiving your test result. Perhaps we start evaluating your health status, your weight, your demographics to get a bit more context. Step 2, beginning a plan. They're going to probably want to tell us what their most valued outcome is. And so based on that, we'll start determining some milestones to achieving that outcome. Step 3, we want to understand your preferences, your hindrances, your abilities. What are your strengths and weaknesses to help you achieve this goal? And based on that, we can potentially modify the milestones. And we probably want to remove pathways and strategies for improving your metabolic health that are not going to work for you based on who you are and what you like to do. And then finally, sort of closing the loop, we want to set a date for your next course of blood work or measurement, because we want to be able to show you the efficacy of this work and then really modify the daily loop to retain you and engage you to get you to that next set of measurement. So what does that look like potentially? These are just early concept sketches, but imagine you start with some kind of baseline measurement, and then you move into something like the metabolic health reset. And so this is an example. We sort of speak to some of the benefits. Maybe it's losing weight or increasing energy, reducing risk of heart disease, and users can opt in and then get started. They can start telling us a little bit more about themselves, like what would be their measure of a successful outcome. And that could even be free-form text. There's something really powerful about committing and stating what you're trying to achieve. We also want to understand a little bit more, again, about hindrances, like what's going to hold you back. This is almost like the sorting hat. These things are going to change the way we communicate with you and the kind of program that you're on. And then we also, of course, we want to understand, what are you not willing to give up? What do you love? So here's sort of a concept screen of someone indicating the food that they're excited about trying, or stuff that they won't give up, and and give them a little bit more, again, personalization. An emerging opportunity that we're just starting to explore that I'm, I was initially pretty skeptical about, but I'm increasingly getting confident around, is the notion of bowel movement tracking and analysis. And so this is something that JM and Scott and I have been brainstorming a little bit about. I think is largely inspired by that Tim Ferriss podcast where he tracked bowel movements, right? Now, glucose is not the only way we can measure your health. We think there's some interesting things happening in your microbiome, and we want to make sure we track that. We'll start small. Initially, maybe it's just weighing bowel movements, but perhaps in the future, we'll be able to offer like deeper insights around, what's going on inside your body. So we see some integration here. I think this would probably be the V1 meal and plotting down the line. There's going to be some work to refine the visual language here, I think. Mapping moments for joy. So the users right now, their experience is, like pretty cold in some ways. And so we want to find a way to up the joy to offset some of the friction, some of the sort of low periods in the product experience. We could probably imagine that opening the box is probably one of the best parts of the experience, because you're getting started. You're kind of stoked to see what's going to happen. But things like the data syncing, waiting for data to sync, onboarding, a score that doesn't make sense, end of the first sensor. We want to build some anticipation of the next sensor too. So how do we do that? And are there sometimes there's some really subtle things and sometimes some more substantive things that we're going to need to do to accomplish that. I think we've already talked a little bit about onboarding, sort of making onboarding kind of playful. But I think there's this whole world in the product experience where we should be introducing animation, making it fun, and also just conveying just a little bit more polish in the product experience. So Brett's doing some fun work here, and I'm really excited. He's an amazing animator. I'm really excited to see what he does. I think that's it for us. So thank you.
Another incredible update. This is this is shocking. Great kickoff to April here with design and product. And I'm going to try not to replay it. Here we go. Come on. There we go. Okay, new team members. So obviously we had several starting this week, which is very exciting. And in the next few weeks, we'll have Caitlin joining as senior editor, Sonia as chief of staff, and Jen on copywriting management. So by April 18th, we'll have 3 more join the team and in onboarding. If you are interested in joining Levels, if you know someone who might be a good fit, we are looking for continuously software engineers, still looking for a visual designer, corporate counsel, and most of our team growth is ahead of us. So please refer someone who looks like a great culture fit for us, or feel free to jump on levels.link/careers and send us your information. Okay, LJ.
April 1st, everyone, giving you here the Athena weekly update from the past week. So we have 11 active EAs since we recently onboarded 3 new ones, 21 Levels team members who delegated, and 135 tasks we were able to accomplish. Moving forward with a new delegation for the week, which came from Sam. So he recently delegated a personal assistance task to help reimburse his expenses for a COVID-19 test from his insurance provider. So this is something that you can definitely explore on. The EAs are also trained to help you with personal errands, household administration, and the like. So if you haven't started delegating yet, or you're interested to delegate more tasks, please email athena@levelshealth.com or simply send a task via Athena voice memo app. We actually have new updates regarding the Athena delegation app, so we will be sending you this list of updates and bug fixes for the new developments within the app. But a big thing right here, you may now be able to attach a photo taken with a camera within the chat for any delegations. So that's it for the update this week, and have a great weekend.
Thank you, LJ and the Athena team.
April 1st.
Over to Chris.
Thanks, Josh. So a couple updates. One, for people who saw my weekly update, is I went deep in the app around specifically the support link. One is close to my heart. We care a lot about who's using it, where they're coming from. And I noticed a couple things. One, there are a lot of pages in the app, actually more pages in the app that don't have the help kind of link in it as we have things like navigation or just nothing. And then 2, consistency about, kind of like what the top nav looks like. So I'll be creating some linear tickets around, are there places we can add the question mark to more places in the app? And then second, there's going to be a request to actually pass to Help Scout, what page are they on when they click it? Because we can now customize the 5 FAQs that they see when they land. So imagine if they're on the Now page and they click the question mark, we give 5 contents that we think we're anticipating what they're going to ask from that page. If they're in the logging tab, 5 different questions, as opposed to just kind of a generic 5, and we usually miss the mark. We want to start to kind of customize that based on where they're at in the experience. So look forward to that Notion ticket coming soon. Next slide. So for me, her last comment of it felt like I was dealing with a call center is the exact experience we are not trying to do. But occasionally we will have, misses. We handle a lot of tickets. We do a lot of volume. So what I did with this member is I wanted to go find like, what are all the support interactions she had? Because I wanted to kind of dig into it. What our response, what did we do? She had 8 different cases with support. And these are the snippets of kind of all of her inbounds, from things of having issues putting in her credit card data. And this was due because she actually didn't fill out the medical consult and she tried applying again, to the, hey, will I be charged twice? She ran into the, I paid, but it's gonna be 3 weeks before I get my CGM, but you already charged my card. That doesn't feel fair. I feel like I should get charged when I actually get the product. Then she had a question on shipping of, she wasn't going to be home and wanted to confirm that there was no signature required because her neighbor was going to be picking up her mail. She got her device, and now we're in the second column, and her question was, how long should I wait to scan after eating? This is one of her comments. She actually talked about the support articles. She asked this, and we kind of sent a number of articles about logging and scanning, and I read all of them, and nowhere did we actually specifically address of the, how long should I wait to scan after eating? It was a very specific, nuanced question. The content we sent was accurate and good, but it didn't address her very specific question, which is what her feedback was about. The next one was the confirming her subscription and setup. And I just want to call it, in this case, Braden did do the right thing. He did send her the link to the subscription link, but she must have had issues with it, or it kicked her out and it kind of started her down the new flow. So this example of Braden did realize she was a member, sent her the correct information, and she just had problems with the link, and it kind of took her back to the top, which is, again, her experience, which is kind of gets down below around her feedback around her experience. And then lastly, in her call with kind of David, she was asking about price, it being too expensive, and the topic of transferring your prescription came up. So she definitely, through David, I think maybe Mike D, and the team, found local pharmacists, gave her the instructions to basically save $66 a month for her, which was a lot of money. So this is, instead of kind of showing lots of members, this is one member's, all the kind of friction points that she ran into and kind of her experience as she kind of ran into a number of kind of walls and pain points in her journey. So, and then next, I'm going to hand it over to Braden, who's actually going to give you a little bit of a quick deep dive on an email campaign that he did and the results. So Braden, over to you. And next slide, Josh.
Thanks, Chris. So over the past month, half of members who signed up have received this 3-day onboarding email series. And the purpose here was to address some common questions that we hear from members getting started and try to help them get up and running. So after about a month, we've seen some positive engagement metric increases among this group that was emailed. And among the members who were emailed, we saw 10% more meal logs on average. And we saw a 20% relative uplift in program completion, meaning that they logged 28 days of glucose data within their first month. At the same time, we didn't see any difference in support contact rates. So the initial goal of addressing these common questions, it might not have been effective in actually doing that. And I think the learning here is that email might not be the best tool to answer these questions people have about using levels and getting started, but it can be an effective surface area for us to nudge members to get back into the app and get engaged with levels and keep going on their journey. I think you're on mute, Josh.
Muted. Pretty amazing. Those numbers are wild, especially with no support contact increase. That's crazy. Great work pushing that, Braden. Thank you. All right, awesome. Yeah, much appreciated on the member experience, and this experiment right here is a prime example of the experimentation culture that we need to have. Just, this was a really prime example of all of the area under the curve that we have yet to explore. And just individuals can launch examples like this, and we can learn a ton. So again, thanks, Braden. Ben.
All right, growth monthly recap in March. So cash generated just over $1 million. Cash on hand, we're at 26.8 million. No changes to debt, and we're at 56 months of runway. Next slide, please. As far as all-time recognized revenue month over month, we hit 12.2 by the end of March, so you can see the growth there. And then as far as CGM subscription revenue month over month, we're at 357K for the month. Next slide, please. CGM, so total CGM sales at 714K is a blend of the first time CGM sales and subscription sales, and then memberships 279K, and blood work has grown to 27K. So we see that keep on creeping up, and it's great to see how much value members are getting once they realize and they get it in app and they say, wow, this is a game changer. So next slide, please. Digital recap. This is not even close to what Matt will do, but it's quick because he's not here. So we hit just over 1 million impressions across all platforms. Our audience has grown to 125K. And you can see the graph at the bottom is impressions. The pink line in the stack chart is Instagram, and then the teal color is Twitter. On March 8th, there was a post that went out, and it was derivative content based on one of the experiments that we ran with Jen, where she repurposed some of the derivative content. So the 10 foods to avoid for stable blood sugar. And that post alone had just over 100,000 impressions on Instagram, which was very cool. And I think it had about 2,500 likes. So you can see how content doesn't go stale. Like, it doesn't have a shelf life, and we can keep using it and reusing it in different ways and new ways. And we get lots of engagement. And the key is to have great content. So that's what contributes to audience growth and all the great things that we're doing. So that is it. On to Tony with a recap on the podcast, and then some of the things we're doing on 10xing digital content.
Thanks, Ben. So whole new level recap for last month. So we released 15 episodes. This is actually getting a little difficult to try to cram into these slides every month with the amount of episodes. We scheduled 12 episodes for April, and for all-time plays as of this morning, we reached 153,000 plays. And for March, we had 33,000 plays. I also want to mention that these, of course, are vanity metrics, so it's not what we're optimizing for. But that is our recap for a whole new level. Next slide. So you probably recently saw Ben's memo on 10xing digital content. So a little bit of a recap here. The TLDR from that memo was that there's 3 levers for 10xing this digital content, and the levers were quantity, quality, and type. So we're going to push on type, and we're going to create multiple types of content this month. And there were 10 action items from that memo and 10 types of content. Out of those 10 types, there's already 9 in pre-production right now, some in post-production, some that are already scheduled. Those 9 are listed here. And next slide. And out of those 9, I just felt it was worthwhile to mention what these types of content are. So the first one, the member stories with Abby. So we're going to be featuring Abby. We're going to be hiring a Snapwire videographer to film her in her local town, just to tell her story, really. And it will correspond with that blog post that we had of Abby last year. The next one, very exciting, Sugar Supercut with Rob Lustig. It's really just Rob ranting about sugar, and it's going to be a supercut of, I don't know, 5 to 7 videos all combined into one video montage. So that is one of the other types of content. Last one, also a lot of fun here, Ask Me Anything. So you've seen probably a lot of this type of content on YouTube, AMA content with thought leaders, with celebrities, probably Gordon Ramsay, really just answering questions from their viewers, really. So Casey's going to go through her DMs really and answer questions that she receives. So that's going to be a fun content piece. We're going to be filming that next week with Casey. So these are some of the types of content we'll be filming this month.
Huge. Can't believe how fast this is turning around. Thanks, team. Thanks, Tom and Ben for the 10X strategy. Excited to see where this goes. Tom.
Tony and Ben for the 10X strategy. I had nothing to do with that one.
Sorry, I meant Tony.
Take credit wherever I can get it. Okay, partnerships update. Just a quick one from me this week, looking at some high-level metrics for March. Starting with our top 10 partner codes, I'm excluding this time any internal codes. So for example, waitlist emails like double opt or pricing tests. High-level takeaways here, just Sinclair continues to perform remarkably strong in the month of March. As a reminder, the podcast episodes that we sponsored went live in January and February. I was expecting initially much more of a dip here in March, but the podcast continues to kill it, and as do conversions. Hyman also is continuing to perform extremely strong despite no new promotions. So this is just really awesome to see. I think I was expecting things to be a bit different in terms of needing to push on these partners constantly to continue to get the same output. But they've been really efficient, really consistent. And then just flagging the Verge article here, which somehow is continuing to drive real serious conversions week over week and month over month, which is just incredible. I've had some experience in the past with outlets like the Verge, and I haven't really seen anything like this before. Next slide. Okay, so as mentioned last week, we're now keeping an eye on metrics related to aggregate paid partner performance on a monthly basis. So looking at all codes across affiliate partners as well as paid partners like podcast advertisers. So this is Q1, number of new members that paid codes are driving. And it is worth noting here that paid codes on a monthly basis are, at least last like 3 or 4 months, have consistently been around 55% of new members each month. And so due to engineering and infrastructure considerations, we're looking to keep this number pretty stable, possibly even limit it. So the goal actually from January and February to March and April and May, kind of in the next few months leading up to liftoff, is to have this number be a bit lower. So we're intentionally scaling down promotions and paid tests. So this is a good thing. This is what we wanted to see in March. I was going to be a little bit nervous if we didn't see this. And yeah, that's it. Next slide. And then lastly, also as mentioned last week, we're starting to pay attention to some metrics that help us understand just how efficiently we are spending money on partners. And so one of these main metrics that we're keeping an eye on is customer acquisition costs. So how much does it cost us to acquire a new member? And we want this number to be at least below $199, which is our margin right now, roughly. And so this is what things look like January, February, and March, looking pretty good overall. And more to come on this front. We're going to get much more granular with our marketing analytics as we launch and scale a lot of these tests once we launch, but this is a good start. That's it.
Awesome. Those are good looking numbers. All right. We are probably going to run into the wall here on time, but that's okay. So we're going to run personal contributions until 12:30 my time. And kick it off myself because I'm always at the top of this list. Personal and professional. Yeah, there's a lot there. I'm excited to continue to explore a new city here in Austin. Went for a nice long walk down by, they call it a lake, but it's actually the Colorado River, which is very nice. And professionally, just really stoked about all the momentum we're building across all these platforms. Like the team growth is really starting to like collect steam, and we're seeing just like crazy acceleration and total velocity. So very cool stuff. With that, I'm going to bounce it over to Mike, who's next on my list.
Okay. Yeah. So it was cool last week seeing everyone in Austin, but then I think both personally and professionally to see the progress that we're making with the product. You know, Miz sent that message out, and then David's recap this week was pretty amazing, specifically with the Now page solving some of these problems and making it really usable so our members can get closer to their long-term goals.
Alan.
Sorry, I'm in Midtown Manhattan right now, so it'll be a little loud, but I'm really enjoying working with Josh and Scott on measuring bowel movement composition and weight. That's going to be great. Also just enjoying pushing forward on looking at plans and medical. So personally, I don't know. Nothing comes to mind, but I'm sure it'll be a great weekend. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Alan, for taking that challenge on for the team. Azure.
It shouldn't be an April Fool's. I'm really glad to be finishing up the list of top 10 metrics and how they connect to behavior and getting into the IRB. And I love all the updates on the Now page getting more efficient. And I guess personally, excited to go see Portugal the Man and Alt-J tonight.
That's a good one. Enjoy. Ben.
Levels wise, stoked on all the revenue recognition stuff, as nerdy as it is. All the financial infrastructure that's required at an early stage and often gets punted is so important. And so just appreciate all the work Bradley's been doing there. And then personally just started lift off for all the SpaceX nerds out there, and it's pretty cool. So that's it.
Nice. Brett.
I'm having a ton of fun. You guys, this place is a barrel of monkeys. We've got logging wrapped up, and I'm excited and challenged by getting things into the roadmap and making them run, but we're going to make it work. And personally, I have been sleeping terrible all week, and I'm going to probably try to break some records and sleep like most of the weekend. So I'm fired up to sleep.
Good luck. Hope it works out. I'm going to jump to the bottom. I'm going to work from both ends here. So Tony.
Oh, didn't see that one coming. I'm usually at last. Level side, just really excited for the team growth. Also really enjoyed seeing the member feedback that David shared earlier. That was my first time seeing that. So really like that.
Yeah, looking forward to the full length feature film that you can cut together from all that B-roll. Chris.
On the levels front, I still just have a permagrin from the get together in Austin last week. It was just so great. So I'm continuing to carry that one forward. Also, the update in the app is just incredible. So great update, David. On the personal front, spring is here, which means time for me to dust off the tractor and start moving some dirt around, getting the tiller, getting the scarf fires. Time to move some dirt. So I'm looking forward to that.
Time has come. Jumping back up. Steph.
I will reiterate what a lot of people have said. Spring has also come here in Colorado, and I'm super excited to. My friend and I are going to Rocky Mountain National Park tomorrow to do a big hike, and then hopefully climb outside on Sunday. And so that's the personal. And then levels wise, yeah, like Chris said, still on high from getting to meet so many people last week, which is great. And I loved hearing the actual member feedback on the call. I don't know about other engineers, but there's nothing more fulfilling than actually seeing like how your work has impacted other people. And so that was absolutely a highlight.
Yeah, we got to surface more of that. That was really awesome. I think you're posted up in a hammock. That's great. Jealous. Galit.
Levels wise, I'm excited probably about everything. If I had to choose, the Now page is really exciting, but really I'm like a little kid right now. And personally, I just got to Asheville on Sunday, and it's my first time in North Carolina. So I'm excited for a lot of hiking this weekend.
Very cool. Enjoy. Stacy.
I love the team growth. And honestly, this Friday forum is
oftentimes the highlight of the week, and I thought that this one was especially inspiring and exciting. So great way to kick off April. Personally, echoing David, our backyard is downright, our front yard too, downright embarrassing. And so we're looking forward to making serious cosmetic improvements.
Can't wait to see the transformation pics. Sounds like it's coming together. You got buried granite stonework. Helena.
Oh, there you go. Levels wise, I just have to give a shout out to Chris and JM for diving headfirst into our code base with the database table migrations. It's just a great example of how, even though we're a startup and you might not get that one-on-one direct mentorship, there's still a tremendous opportunity here to learn and expand your skills. And it can be really daunting, even as like an engineer early on, to have other engineers review your work. And the fact that we now have ops people who are getting comfortable committing on GitHub is, I think, a really unique and really huge thing. Like, I've personally never been at a company where that's a thing. And so huge hat tip to JM and Chris for taking the initiative and really excelling. And then I'll post this in the threads, but next week I'm taking my first ever Think Week to do some heads down work on insights and research.
Very cool. Keep some notes on how that goes. It's I get a lot of questions actually from people coming onto the team about what the Think Week concept is and how to do one. So it'd be cool to just have some notes on what you do. Scott.
Work-wise, I feel like we were in planning mode for a long time around liftoff, and then we just sort of set the hounds free this week, which is great. So we got a lot of IRB consent, e-commerce, and actually new sign-up flows getting worked on all simultaneously. Got kicked off this week, which is great. And we're also going to post for a new product manager, which is great. It's going to be fun for us to have another PM to kind of help push projects forward. Personally, I'm dealing with COVID, so I'm quite thankful for vaccines right now, because I feel like I worked all day yesterday, and it's probably gonna be the same today. My poor wife is saddled with the kids because I'm kind of cloistered up here in the office, but I am happy to be healthy right now.
Glad it's going well. I think you and Ben are both dealing with the same battle right now. Feel better. JM.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, I've always wanted to be an engineer. I think the reason I'm not one is because in 1998, in a computer science seminar in high school, I didn't pay attention. And instead, I learned how to sell things on this brand new website called eBay because I'm old and also impatient. So that kind of led me to a career in e-commerce instead of being an engineer. So it was nice to try my hand at that. It's getting really nice out here. The first 3 months of the year are garbage, and the next 9 are my favorite. So it's good to be here. Have a great weekend.
Love it. Maz, close it out.
All right. On the professional front, I'm actually super jazzed working with a lot of different folks. It's just amazing to work with this team. There's a lot going on a lot of different fronts. And no matter who you interact with, it's just really world-class experience, whether it's around data, whether it's around product. It's just been fantastic and it's been fun. On the personal front, I'm taking the exploration one step further. I have been resisting Aura because I used to work for Apple. You never use other wearables. But I've been, this is the sizing kit of Aura, and adding experimentation of sleep and see how food affects sleep disruption. And I will write that up when I actually get the product. Apparently it's back ordered. So excited about that.
Do you have Whoop?
I do not. That's probably the next one.
Get the Whoop going. Can't do 2 of 3.
Yeah.
All right. But don't get the 4.0. I've heard that has not gone well. And my 3.0 still has good battery life and the 4s don't. So.
All right. I'll wait.
Yeah, that's the inside track. All right. Well, we somehow did it. We got through super jam-packed Friday forum. Very exciting kickoff to April. Thanks everybody, all the new folks who are getting started. Thank you for getting ramped up and embracing our culture. Please ask questions. Everyone else, thanks for all the killer work this week. Please help the new folks get started. And looking forward to the month and the rest of the year. Have a great weekend.